Good morning, good afternoon, or as the case may be, good evening, and welcome to Distribution Strategy Group's Distribution Leader Panel on how exceptional customer experience powers growth and profits. We're going to be hearing from 4 customer experience professionals, and I do call them that. It is a new emerging role. And we're going to be guiding a discussion about what they're doing that you can learn from your peers in the customer experience space. Its broad background, the broad idea is that if you can deliver a better customer experience, you're gonna retain customers, and those retained customers will have a higher customer lifetime value. They'll buy more from you in the interim while they are customers because they like the customer experience. And one thing that's really unusual about distribution is that because you probably sell similar products to your competitor, the main differentiator of what you do is the customer experience, which is the totality of all of their interaction with you. It could be everything from product availability to a value-added service to billing to delivery. It's not the product because your competitors are carrying the same product. So in a very real sense, customer experience is the product. Before we introduce our guests, our panelists, I wanted to make a couple of announcements. The first is Distribution Strategy Group is having the first AI conference for distribution. And it's called Applied AI for Distributors. It will be held October 3rd through 5th at the Chicago Marriott O'Hare. Nice, convenient location. We're delighted to welcome Zach Cass. He's the head of the go-to-market for OpenAI, the makers of ChatGPT, as our opening keynote speaker. We'll have a panel of industry executives talking about the opportunities and risks of AI, and keynote speakers that will help you understand AI, prepare to adopt, and write your AI roadmap. We have a long lineup of great technology companies who explain the specific AI-enabled capabilities they offer today, as well as what's coming up in the next 24 months. The exhibit hall will feature demos from tech companies ranging from startups to stalwarts. If you're interested in AI, and who isn't, you won't want to miss this conference, first of its kind. Spaces are limited, so go to distributionstrategy.com and click on the AI event banner at the top of the page today to register. Next thing I wanted to share is about the Customer Experience RX product from Distribution Strategy Group. We mentioned our distributors know that increasing customer loyalty leads to growth in both revenue and profitability. Furthermore, increasing loyalty depends on being able to measure customer satisfaction and improve the customer experience. DSG's Customer Experience RX provides a new and exciting way to measure overall customer satisfaction, but more importantly, to understand the drivers of customer satisfaction and customer experience. If you are using Net Promoter Score or are looking for a way to systematically improve customer experience and customer satisfaction, reach out to Distribution Strategy Group. And now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our panelists. So we have, I'm just going to mention names briefly. By the way, we have an abundance of names that start with J, but we're going to get some relief because Jennifer Jubin goes by Jen, as opposed to Jennifer Johnson, who goes by Jennifer. So you'll have a little bit of relief there. But then we have Joanne Stitzer, VP of Customer and Associate Engagement at Benco, Jen Jubin, VP of CX at COE Distributing, Jennifer Johnson, VP of Operations and Customer Experience at Motion and Control Enterprises, and Corey Hegel, Director of Customer Experience, Director of Customer Service, but actually the CX head at Palmer Donovan. So welcome to all of you and thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
I should mention to our audience, we will take questions. A couple of caveats on that. One, we may decide to answer it in the moment or to defer it to later, depending on the topic. And second of all, we don't take questions from anonymous participants. So if you want to ask a question, make sure to show up as identified, and then we'll definitely field that question. I think without further ado, what I want to do is talk about the responsibility for customer experience in a company. There's a famous saying that marketing is too important to be left to the marketing department, and I think there's a little bit of that going on with customer experience. So even though you may have the title, there are others involved. Joanne, let's start with you and talk about how the CX initiative is organized in your company. Who's involved, who's not, et cetera.
So I mean, I would agree with your statement. We're definitely looking at it with the lens of a partnership across functions, not just in its own silo. So we have a customer advocate office, which I'm a part of. And then we also have our customer service team, but we've expanded that. So we have a customer experience committee who has representation from every function within the business, including marketing, IT, finance, make sure that we're getting that lens and that representation and viewpoint from every area. And this expands out into our field location. So we have 26 customer advocates across the United States as well to support that lens.
Sounds very comprehensive. Jennifer Johnson, how about MCE?
So we've actually, we have something a little bit similar to what Joanne has described. However, in our customer experience team, and we are a part of, our business is constructed of a lot of acquisitions over time. So we have a lot of small organizations that make up who MCE is today. And so really what we wanted to ensure that we do is we wanted to establish a customer experience organization that gave an opportunity for not only our employees and our team members to grow, but also cared for our customers' size, complexity, simplicity, and what our customers needed. So then we have an opportunity to meet our customers where they need us to be, whether that's in our phone channel, whether that's email communication. And so we've really constructed something that allows us to provide technical expertise to what we call kind of that technical lead program. We've also created our large customer experience group too. This allows us to meet and walk side by side with our outside sales representatives with our customers. And then we really also focus on those roles that have to be very tactical in order for speed and efficiency with our customers. So we've as much as we've done exactly kind of what Joanne has described as well, we've really focused on creating an opportunity to size our customers in a way so that we can form and function what they're looking for. And that was probably our biggest opportunity in our evolution period when we created a customer experience team.
That's beautiful. So what I think when you and I were speaking last week, one of the somewhat novel challenges you have is the difference in the brands that you're acquiring. So some distributors are acquiring very similar companies. They figure out how to integrate them soup to nuts. Could you talk about that aspect of this organization and what it means for the whole CX thing?
Sure. So, I mean, we have organizations that we've created. It's kind of a division, right? So we're creating a whole brand that actually makes up of 10 or so more different divisions that do all different things. Our opportunity we have is to focus on creating standardization of how we treat our customers. And so that was really when we talked about creating and doing some standardization, knowing that the business's form and function is a bit different. Our customer experience team really focuses on meeting our customers where they are, performing fit and function what they're asking us to do, and caring for size and customer complexity in a very standardized way. And so this allows us to do that across our business, which allows for us to care for the little idiosyncrasies that each business or division has. But it does allow us to standardize on how we measure our success in dealing with our customers. It does allow us to create customer intimacy and meet our customers where they are. And it also does allow us to kind of care for what our total vision is of creating a great customer experience for MCE.
Very interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how you walk down that path. It's rich. Corey, how about at Palmer Donovan? Help
Yeah.
us.
So I would say at Palmer Donovan right now, we're kind of in that crawl phase of the crawl, walk, run with customer experience. And so to say that I solely own it would be wrong. I think we've got so many different people at Palmer Donovan, and being a very customer centered business, that right now we don't have one person that solely owns it. However, we're working towards working with each department and how that impacts the customer. And so, we have a director of marketing who's heavily involved in the CRM and our e-commerce platform, and working with operations and how that affects the deliveries to our customers. And so right now we kind of have each department head with the focus of the customer at the end. And then I work solely with our customer service department, who is, customer facing a lot of times. However, you have things like internal customers and bringing those two pieces together as well. So secretly, I snuck onto this to hear from the other three panelists and hopefully learn a lot today.
Okay, we won't tell anybody. Jen Jubin, you do have the title VP of CX. Help us understand how you organized it at COE.
Right, so this was a newly created position that I came into just a little over 2 years ago. So obviously there was, wide open spaces to figure out what that looked like. So it's been a lot of fun. So a lot of research, a lot of education on my own part, even though I've been in customer service really my whole life. But I think the big piece of success for COE is that it has been customer service, high levels of customer service has been ingrained in the culture here since the start. And that was noticeable to me even when I first interviewed and came on into the company when I was a VP of operations. And I think that makes a huge difference, even to the extent that we cite customer service as one of our core values, and we make sure that we hire, regardless of the position, to our core values, customer service being one of them. And also to Corey's point, it was an important piece for me in taking on this role that we weren't just talking about external customers, that we were talking about internal customers as well. Because I think it's really important for all employees, regardless of their department and their role, that they have a good experience as an employee, but also cross-departmentally. Is everyone treating each other well? Are you treating those internal customers just as you would your external customers? And I think if you're acting like that at a high level of service at all times, it's just going to naturally become how you act with your external customers as well. And I think that leads to that just overall high level that we're told that we have in terms of service levels.
That's beautiful. So what, if I'm hearing you right, you're doing EX as well as CX, employee experience as well as customer experience.
Right.
Yeah. So the presumption there is that the one feeds the other, right? There's a famous book called The Loyalty Effect by Frederick Reichheld. I recommend it, by the way, either the book or the HBR article, a little bit shorter, that looks at the virtuous relationship between employee satisfaction and customer satisfaction. What's Cliff's Notes? The Cliff's Notes version of that is the one feeds the other, and then they both drive growth and profitability. So if you start tracking your employee engagement scores and your customer satisfaction scores, they probably should track in tandem together. Let me ask, so given that these departments are new and in a sense, you don't have authority in a lot of cases, unless you are the VP of operations. What are some of the challenges in that kind of a setup where you're a little bit matrixed, you're working cross-function? What are some of the challenges in getting buy-in from the organization? Corey, you want to take that one?
I think just as in any organization, you have so many different moving parts to every single department. And from my experience, I might have this grand idea that I really want to bring, and hey, here's what we're going to do, and not realizing all the different departments it's going to affect, down to credit, to operations, to our service department for our door division. And so I think some of the roadblocks can be thinking too small and not realizing kind of the holistic picture and getting all parts involved. And so one thing we've learned, and we've done different task force, which I've really enjoyed. So for example, we had an idea on transfers, and we wanted to kind of redo the way we transfer between different branches. And we had this great idea, and we kind of put it into place quickly, and it worked. And didn't realize all the other things that it affects, and literally down to credit and how we were billing, and kind of pump the brakes and say, hey, we need to make sure we're doing a good job of getting all departments involved, understanding that. And I think of Joanne's comment of having, different customer experience people from each department to come in and say, hey, how does this going to affect your department? And that's kind of what we've done with some of these task force. And we found it to be pretty successful. And then you also get buy-in from those departments because they've had a chance to say, hey, this is how it's going to affect me and my team. Let's make sure we think through all those processes.
Jennifer Johnson, I see you nodding.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing is we've really stepped in it more than a few times. So we're kind of a smushing together. I'm using a really technical term here. We're a smushing together of a lot of different companies that have a lot of different processes. And when we think about how we carry our employees through the customer journey, and we also carry our customers through that as well, we have uncovered the dire need for us to document all processes that we have across our businesses, whether it's the execution things that customer experience team does or what the sales team does, which is why, what Joanne is describing is really the awesome synergy of bringing teams together to create a customer experience team that has an investment from and a partnership from everybody across the business. What we missed is we thought we were charging forward with all the best of intentions, and we forgot 15 million steps in between. And so we have to go back and make sure that we are being diligent about documenting all of our processes, making sure that we take everyone through our processes, and we spend time in this repository of things that we do and how we execute on behalf of our customers in a way that is very thoughtful, that is documented, that takes everybody through the journey. Because customer experience, again, Jennifer talked about this too, is not just what we take our customers through. It's what we all journey through, because we all are here and gainfully employed because people have chosen to continue to buy from us and use us as a resource. So we have made a ton of mistakes, and we are continuing to learn through all of them. But really, when we step back and we think about what we take our customers through, it really starts with us creating a foundation that understands how everybody is integrated and has to kind of align for us to be able to move forward. Hopefully that makes sense. But I mean, it's funny because everything that Corey described are all the mistakes that we've made. And I would assume that there's a lot of people on this call that have made those kinds of mistakes. And I would tell you is I think we are all in the infancy of, because our customers change all the time. We are all in the infancy of structuring and making sure that we are caring for that customer journey in a really thoughtful way that takes all of our team members through that as well.
Just to quantify it a little bit, Jennifer, we actually did a search on people that have the name customer experience in their title among distributors over 50 million, 50 million. And there were 1,800 people that had the title of customer experience. I could have been manager of customer experience, could have been director, could have been VP. I haven't seen a C-level title on that yet, but it is new and it's a little bit squishy, right? And so, if you think about traditional distributors, they're a little bit less comfortable with squish, right? So.
Yeah, that identity is incredibly important for us. We had to step back quite a bit and think about what do our customers want from us? And then we had to build back into what that identity meant and what each piece and part and component contributed in that customer journey. And it's one of those things that, I think Corey described it. I'm a huge Corey fan, by the way, because we are still in the crawl phase. Too. I think we all kind of are as we grow. But I will tell you, it has been an incredible experience to try to step back and look at everything we do from a customer standpoint.
I think this leads naturally into how do we measure what we're doing in the customer experience and customer satisfaction realm. So I'm gonna throw out a couple of topics to discuss, and then we'll go with you, Jen. So what matters and what's the right method for measuring customer satisfaction? You know, what's the role of qualitative versus quantitative data? What's the role of internal operating data? How do you bring all that together to do measurement in the CX CSAT world?
Well, it can be a lot, and I think that's why these positions are being created, because it is so important and there's so much, I think, to work through. Plenty of surveying to do, questions to ask, and things to monitor. So for me personally, we look at NPS and CSAT regularly. Those are the two big ones for us. I personally prefer CSAT over NPS. So those are big ones for us. But as far as operational data goes, we look at a lot of that as well. For instance, we know from general surveys, as well as conversations with customers, that having stock on hand for immediate shipments is extremely important to them, and receiving their deliveries as quickly as possible. So we monitor those types of statistics. How quickly are we shipping orders from the time that the order is received? So the smaller that number is, the better it is, and we know the happier our customers are going to be, because they're not waiting for back orders to be restocked, or truck delays, what have you. So that's an example of an operational piece of information we look at, as well as return rates. Return rates is another big one for us. How much of our product is being returned, but also why. Is it an issue on our end? Is it damaged goods some are getting damaged between the warehouse and the customer's dock? Other specific reasons. So we look at maybe issues that we caused that require returns, or just the customer decided to return it for no specific reason. So we dig into that and do everything we can to dig into those operational pieces to understand where we can improve, which ultimately I think leads to the higher customer satisfaction and ultimately higher sales.
Sounds like you're blending them very, very effectively. Joanne, I know this is not your first NPS rodeo. Talk to us about what you're doing at Benco on, this is, by the way, overall, as opposed to sort of detailed metrics, right? So what are you doing to measure overall?
So ultimately, NPS is a primary method of measurement for us, but we are also looking at customer satisfaction when you take specific touch points within that journey, so that we can understand those variances. Newer to us, but ultimately helpful in that overall measurement impact, our performance gaps and really correlation to NPS or NPS scores. Similar to Jen, we are also taking some of that operational data and building it into one dashboard view for us to help tell a story. And I think that's been the biggest piece of our journey, is we have numbers. So how do we tell a story attached to those numbers? The operational data does have some overlap with what Jen mentioned. So you're looking at return rates, you're looking at customer retention, you're looking at contact ratios. How many times are our customers reaching us in a first call with a resolution? Something we change, drive them back into contact us. How long is it from a click to delivery? So there's a lot of key variables that really drive into your overall customer satisfaction. My dashboards, they change almost quarterly as our customers changing. I think Jennifer mentioned earlier that customer evolution is always ongoing, and just when you're comfortable, your numbers are going to change. So you really have to keep agile in that NPS and that customer measurement standpoint.
So we shouldn't be like the people who hope that the Dow just goes up and up. You're saying that your NPS scores might not just be going up and to the right forever. They might vary a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to vary, and I think we need to be agile and understand what are those variables that drive that, so that you can stay ahead of that curve.
Corey, how about at Palmer Donovan?
Yeah. So again, kind of in the infancy stage with NPS. We've launched a couple surveys this year, and the feedback for me, I think the most interesting thing has, yes, we want to know what we're good at, but as a business, we hope to have our pulse on that already of understanding, hey, where do we, shortcome, where do we do really well? But what I've loved to see is what's important to the customer. And then there's been some capabilities that have been highlighted as not as important as we thought. And so, hey, we need to rethink this strategy or how many resources we're putting into some of these capabilities. But I think the biggest thing is taking that survey feedback, and we've also done the Gallup Pulse surveys for internal employees and acting on it. It's one thing to take a survey and get an idea and say, great, now we know. And then it's, hey, what are we going to do to act on that feedback, but then also measure it. And so for our internal surveys, it's just blatantly communicating back to the employee base, hey, we heard you, and here are some steps that we're taking to get those things done. And then the feedback on the next Pulse survey would be our kind of quantitative data as we see if it's made an impact or not. And then same sounds like for other companies, looking at things like service time, acknowledgement time. We've got a door manufacturing division, and so it's pretty easy to say, hey, how quickly can we get a door made by the time a customer enters an order until they receive it at their location. Things like wait times, hold times, transfers are transferring calls are a big one we look at, saying, hey, how likely are we to solve the customer's issue from the first time they reach out to us? So first contact solution, things like that. And then setting some metrics that our supervisors can look at and say, hey, where did we fall there? But taking some of that qualitative feedback and then being able to turn it into, hey, what can we look at? Almost like a lag measure eventually, and say, hey, are these things working?
And Jennifer Johnson, how about a motion to control? You're on mute.
Sorry. So we are actually really heavily ingrained right now with CSAT, edging towards more of a consistency around NPS and how we evolve to that. Because we are so many different organizations, we're kind of trying to intertwine and unpack what all the other organizations are doing before we tackle it as a brand of MCE. So that's kind of where we are. Because we've made the moves that we've done from a customer experience standpoint, we've consolidated those. We actually have an opportunity to measure those very consistently across all of our organizations. CSAT has been probably our best predictor to understand what our customers want, how we fulfill their wants and needs and desires, and where they want us to meet them in the selling cycle, how they want us to follow up with them, and really what their expectations are. So we are continuing our journey down MPS, and of course, that the team, Jonathan and team, are helping us continue to evolve that, of course, because we have some tweaking to do through that process. And again, very much like Joanne, our metrics and all those things are changing all the time because our customers and what they're looking for, the economics of the situations that all of them are in based on size and complexity, are really evolving and changing all the time, for sure.
So I want to come back to your size and complexity thing in just a moment, because I think it's a really important piece. What I want to touch on first is, particularly for any of you panelists who are using both NPS and customer sat, can you talk about the trade-offs of the one versus the other as a macro indicator of overall satisfaction? Maybe Jen, you lead off there.
Sure. NPS, they're obviously two very different questions. How likely are you to recommend us, and how satisfied are you? So sometimes I think, and I said before that I personally prefer, and I think that the CSAT score for us is more reliable. I think the NPS score sometimes is misinterpreted and isn't necessarily answered correctly the way we would want it to be answered. I've gotten customers who responded that they don't want to recommend us to others because they don't want the competition. They don't want other people selling our products. Like, okay, that's not really what we're trying to get with the NPS, but I can understand how they would interpret it that way and answer it how they interpret it. So for me, I find that the CSAT score is just a bit more reliable to truly understand how satisfied customers are with everything that we're providing. And it's just been, I think it was Jennifer said, just more directly linked or more predictable with other outcomes to rely on that CSAT. But to your point, it does, it's not consistent, it goes up and down. And then we look at both to try to understand, why, what forced it to go up, what forced it to go down since the last measurement, and really assess what's going on in the marketplace, what's going on with us. Sometimes you just know, it's not going to be a good one because, like, in the height of the supply chain issues, people were not happy because nobody had any stock. So, and then we've seen it, very consistently rise since then, both scores, but one more so than the other. And so digging into why that is really important. But I also find the devil's in the details. Finding the open-ended responses and combing through those is really quite enlightening. Some things you kind of have to take with a grain of salt, but others, if you see consistent responses on the same topic, then you've got something there, because maybe you haven't asked the question, but they want to tell you about something. So I think those detailed responses are important too.
Yeah, and there can be inconsistency between the number and the sentiment of the open-ended comment, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Like you could get a 7 NPS, which is a passive. It's not a bad score. And they could give you just absolutely raving positive open-ended comment. They're the best. I love my sales rep. They get me stuff on time, but I gave them a 7. So
right.
I think that makes sense. Joanne, what are you seeing in the using both and trade-offs and strengths?
It's really for us what we're going to do with that. So on the NPS front, it's a great relationship measurement, right? We want to know overall how are we doing and performing in that instance. So it's a great top level measurement for us. I think CSAT is great when and have gone through your customer journey and those key touch points and you understand your personas. That CSAT then is giving you that customer satisfaction for a specific touch point. So maybe you are going in to do a service call or a quick phone call with an office to troubleshoot some technical pieces. That customer satisfaction is giving you a great in the moment snapshot on a specific transaction. So I think those are the trade-offs. Are really, do you want to know about the journey or do you want to know about a specific moment in time and transaction, and then understanding where they meet and marry at the end, because they really are going to tell a story across the journey.
It's funny what you both mentioned about NPS. So my son was at a medical laboratory kiosk check-in. At the end of the kiosk check-in, it said, "Would you recommend this kiosk check-in to a friend or a colleague?" I'm pretty sure he didn't at the next party recommend the kiosk check-in to somebody. But I think there's a way in which the world has been trained to understand that would you recommend means, do you like this company? For most people. I mean, some people are going to literally interpret it as recommend, like you mentioned, Jennifer. But I think a lot of the world has been trained through various surveys to do that. So when we started to touch on how we get below that macro level measurement. Joanne, you mentioned touch points. Corey, you mentioned capabilities. Maybe Corey, take us through how you think about measuring the capabilities and give us some examples of the capabilities that you're looking to measure. And you also mentioned importance as well.
Yeah, I mean, as far as some of the capabilities, we've got a new kind of analytics team that is really helping us build out some of those, looking at different data in a way that we haven't done before. And then it's kind of helping us build upon those to understand what the customer wants. So, they've been a big part of that, and understanding kind of, again, where we struggle, but also what our customers wanting. So, gosh, I'm sorry, I lost my thought there. I apologize.
That's okay. I think you're the youngest on the call, but it's okay if you have a senior moment. I think we'll grant you that. Jennifer Jubin, Jen Jubin, how are you getting below the level of that macro measurement to understand particular things?
Right. So I mentioned, some of the operational data we look at. So there's a lot of analytics there that we look at on a regular basis operationally that I think then it feeds up into ultimately into the NPS or the CSAT, whether it's, how are our back orders looking? How much out of stock do we have? That's an issue. How quickly are we shipping orders? What's our return rate? How many perhaps, what we call mispicks or pulling errors in the warehouse, we sent the wrong product, things like that. So the more granular level, we're looking at all those things, which I think feed up into those macro level scores. And those are the things we talk about on a very regular basis and kind of nitpick a lot, knowing that it's ultimately going to roll up and improve those bigger scores that we're looking at. We also we have large surveys that go out twice a year to measure those, the NPS and the CSAT. And then we also ask sort of topical questions that we want feedback from our customers on, depending on what's going on at the moment or in the marketplace. We survey on that. But we do have surveys that go out with each delivery so we can get feedback in the moment. So to Joanne's point, that particular touch point, how did we do on this specific thing? So we are getting regular feedback on those on a day-to-day basis on those things that can match up to our macro level surveys. So there's a lot, like all day, every day, basically information coming in and being looked at a really fine level.
So what I'm hearing from this and a previous answer you gave is you look at the qualitative answers, right? You look at the internal operating metrics, and then you look at other particular survey questions in your periodic as opposed to your pulse surveys.
Right.
Okay. And Joanne, I know you've done some interesting stuff with correlation. Maybe you could talk to us a little bit about what you're doing there to get below the macro indicator.
Sure. So something that has really helped us expand on what our initiatives are that our takeaways from our customer survey feedback and even our associate survey feedback is, really how important is it to you and how satisfied are you with it? So we're not just having that one component of satisfaction, we're also getting that ask of how important is this to you? Does it make our job a little bit easier? Absolutely, because they're helping tell a story with a part of that data. But those two gaps help us look at what's most important to our customers and our associates and drill in by demographics, by region. Jennifer, you mentioned like size. So it really helps us make prioritization easier in terms of achieving our objectives. That piece. Chart I really like.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And the other chart I really like to use is it's a correlation chart, and it's a quadrant. You're looking at that importance and that satisfaction and the strength of their score. So it's showing you how easy it is or difficult to really move that level of satisfaction within your customer experience initiative to really drive that metric to the next level.
So for example, inventory availability probably shows as one that if you get better at is going to correlate to that NPS score, but perhaps a very specific value-added service may not drive the NPS score that much. Would that be an example?
Exactly.
Okay. And Jennifer Johnson, you mentioned your focus on the large customers. Joanne mentioned also by size. We actually have a question from the audience that I think I'd like you to field. So when sizing your customer, what do you do to maintain smaller accounts and make them feel important? Our experienced teams set up service accounts of all sizes. Can you describe the teams and how they are set up?
Yeah, so we have three different layers that handle our customers. We also have a sales team that works in tandem based on customer size. So we have so when we say we walk through our customer journey together in customer experience and sales, those are really kind of hand-in-hand journeys. We size customers kind of that small SMB and medium-sized customer, and then our large, very complex customers. We size them based on potential and also kind of current performance and sales performance as well. And then we also take a look at that, who's covering that account from a sales model standpoint. Hopefully that answers the question. So,
Perfect.
yeah, it's actually fairly simplistic. We thought of ways that we could make it more complex, but really then we just ended up landing on really something simple where we have, kind of an aligned core team that supports our inside team when they communicate with customers, just to make sure we have that regular cadence to keep those small and medium customers, keep that engagement and keep those churn scores down for those customers. And then we really have, what we've evolved to is a very complex strategy with our large customers, our large fragmented customers that are multi-sites, how we meet with those customers with our outside sales team and our customer experience specialist, and how we go through kind of how we're performing for them metrics. We go through those metrics with them, and then we really step side by side and make sure that we understand what their goals and objectives are for a year. So we want to make sure for whatever size that we're aligned with anyone else who is calling into that customer base. And that's really how we've tried to simplify it as much as possible.
So you're providing good service to all, but it's not a one size fits all, is what I'm hearing.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And Corey, I know Palmer Donovan has recently taken steps in that direction. Maybe you could take a shot at this question as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've looked at a few different things, and I think it's, the way we discuss it internally is you're not treating any customer different because of how big they are. It's not you're shorter on the phone or they don't get as much time. But I think prioritizing is the best way to look at it, because you want to take care of all customers, and you will take care of them. But sometimes those emergencies are going to kind of outweigh one another. And so being able to have a good strategy to that. And I know they've looked at quite a few things. And again, goes back to our data analytics team of how do you size those customers, and what makes a big customer a big customer. It's not all sales. There's a lot of different aspects to that. And I think it's important to keep that in mind, though. It's not hey, they're a big customer, so we're gonna, do everything we can for them. We have a lot of customers, and one thing we've done for some of our smaller accounts is we've dedicated an inside salesperson. So they have one person they can work with, and so it's not we're going to treat you different. It's we're going to treat you appropriately and make sure that you still have the service and the touch points and the things you need to do your job well. And if there's growth, great, we're going to be there too for you.
Now, we've talked about industry. We've talked a little bit about location. We talked about size. Are you able to say, yeah, Cleveland, we got a problem, Columbus, you're in great shape, using that Houston, we got a problem metaphor?
In regards to what? In just
whether it's overall satisfaction or some other performance metric.
Yeah, and I think, some of the feedback we've gotten from our NPS score, to be able to look at that data and kind of slice it to say, hey, where are we having issues? And I think a big part of that is our outside sales force being boots on the ground, and getting that data back to them. And so right now we're sifting through, as Jen alluded to, those comments and seeing if there are patterns in those, and then getting those to the outside sales team to say, hey, here's your customer in your market, and kind of here's a pattern we're seeing, and being able to act on it and act on it quickly.
We have a couple of questions here. The first is, can you shed some light on your digital strategies to improve customer experience? How widely are they adopted by your customer base? So in this discussion so far, we've been talking about online, offline, right? This is a specific question about digital. Corey, I'm going to start with you because I know you're pretty far along in that journey.
Yeah. So, one thing that sticks out to me first is our e-commerce platform that we've been doing for quite some time. Kind of got a facelift and a kind of a relaunch about, I think we're coming up on 5-6 years. We call it Connect. And so if you hear me refer to Connect, that's what I mean. But, it's something that our customers have really gravitated towards. And we're in an industry that sometimes gets called old school, and about 20 years behind in the building materials industry. But the customers that have used it have really, gravitated towards that and realized how quickly they can get answers. We have a customer service that fields a lot of calls every day on just pricing and inventory, and realizing they've got a tool right in front of them that can answer all those questions. And if they're stuck, they've got chat, which are the same customer service that answer the phones. And so our marketing team has done a phenomenal job on getting that tool out to the customer, training our outside sales, and it becomes, something that they go out there and sell. It's not a physical product that they're pitching, but it is something that they're out there training their customers on. And I think the growth we've seen and how much sales have gone through that is great, and it creates less room for error upon order entry, and it frees up our customer service to do more proactive things and be less order takers and more being able to add value to the customer.
And Jen, how about at COE? How are you measuring and improving the digital customer experience as part of this, or the omni-channel more broadly?
So very similar to what Corey just described. We have an even newer website. It's only 2 years old, but even newer than that is really the push to getting our customers to order on our website. So we have what we consider to be the old portal, which is what our customers are really used to, which is kind of an old style, a direct connection to our ERP, and it works fine. But our new website is what we're putting our efforts into, and right now in the middle of a big push to convert customers over, not just from the old portal, but those that are still very old school in how they order. A few weeks ago, we had a convert and a customer who handwrites purchase orders, and we got them to order online, and that for me was a huge win. So every customer is different in their processes, so it is a very kind of custom conversation and training on introducing the benefits of the website and ordering online, and using that as a more self-reliant tool than constantly calling into customer service or whatever their former method is. And exactly what Corey described is our customer service team, we're told over and over again, is the best in the industry. So I tell my customers, well, wouldn't you rather them doing some more value added tasks to improve your account, improve our relationship, rather than just sitting there and typing in your orders? So we really are making a push for more ordering online. We're seeing it's working. We needed to continue to do more. But it is a challenge. It takes a little time to get our customers comfortable with that change, new process. But once the light bulb goes off and it all clicks and they realize really how easy it is, then they're really happy. So it's sort of a work in progress. We are focusing on that a lot, as well as we do have a newer chat bot on our website too that I've been pushing a lot. That's a lot of fun because it does some things that we weren't able to do previously. So both the chat and the online ordering is a continued work in progress, and that's one that I'm deeply ingrained in, and really getting a lot of one-on-one feedback from our customers on what they don't like about it, what they do like about it, so we can continue to improve and get more adoption over to that.
For anybody here using Core Web Vitals from Google? It's a measurement on UX for the digital world. Very powerful. I mean, it looks at simple things like latency and response time, but it also gets to broader UX, CX issues. So that's one thing. And are any of you surveying? You mentioned one-to-one interactions as you're rolling this out. Are any of you surveying about your digital experience?
We are. It is newer for us as part of the strategy is to just understand that. So it's something new as a touch point that we built into our journey. So we are surveying along that process to understand that and that interaction, and how can we make it easier for all of our customers to use in the moment.
Okay. I want to touch on one last question that I think is important. We may not have time for everybody to weigh in. I want to start with you, Jennifer Johnson. How do you expect to show value to the organization on your CX initiative?
So I appreciate this question because I have to answer it all the time.
Great. So you rehearsed it, is what you're telling me.
No, actually, and I would tell you there's probably some chinks in it here and there, but quite honestly, customer retention is probably the biggest one. So our ability to keep customers and keep customers engaged, continue to keep customers buying in the buying pattern that they've grown accustomed to with us based on what they use us and leverage us for. The other one is, quite honestly, it is a expansion for us. So our ability to cross-sell across the multiple companies that I've kind of described are smushed together that create MCE, our ability to cross-sell, and our ability to communicate who we are and how we add value to our customers across multiple divisions. How we do that much faster and generate revenue is really the key substantiation for us.
Wow, that is so deep. So to the extent that you're able to cross-sell, it's a validation of the CX.
Yeah. And how we're able to communicate and empower people to find other opportunities. I mean, we've done a lot in terms of lead generation, and we have so much more work to do. But if you think about it, this is a business that started with one organization and has grown to 10 and will still continue to grow through acquisition. So how we continue to integrate and talk about who we are as an organization and empower our CX team to have that conversation with all of our customers allows us to have speed to revenue, allows us to create, some core experts across customer experience team, and folks go to us first to get guidance, to get product guidance, to get directional guidance. It gives us an opportunity to do lead generation and create opportunities that really are a whole systemic group of things that we can measure. And we can do that really relative to sales and sales dollars and sales generation, which is really what keeps us all gainfully employed, to be quite honest with you, right?
Gainful's good.
Yeah.
Jen Jubin, how about at COE? How are you showing the value of your initiative?
It all comes down to sales. We're hyper focused on sales, and we could break it down further than that to, as Jennifer explained, with customer retention. We look at order size, we look at frequency of ordering. If there's someone that their activity has changed, so talking about customer size, while we don't diminish the value of our smaller customers, we definitely have a focus on our largest customers. So we're very much in tune with them. And if we see buying patterns change, things are dropping off, then we dive in and figure out what's going on there.
Finally, Joanne, could you weigh in on how you're showing the value?
Yeah, I mean, they both gave great answers. I think there's no right or wrong. It's unique to each organization. To complement what they both said, I think that knowing the level of confidence in your scores goes a long way there, which is something you get with maturity within your customer experience program, as well as showing improvement within the touch points of your customer experience where you had specific initiatives to be able to show that work had a success factor attached to it. And I think that flows into what both Jen and Jennifer said about just showing that retention in their overall customer base, the movement, and some of their numbers that they're measuring against.
Thank you all so much for an incredibly informative session. I'm eager to see how your journey progresses. I'm sure you are as well. So maybe we get a chance to weigh in a year from now and invite some of you back. I wanted to share with our audience some upcoming events that we have that I think are going to be interesting. So a week from today, am I doing the math right? No, Tuesday, August 22nd, we've got a session on artificial intelligence implications for distributor sales, marketing, and digital strategy. So customer facing. This is a distributor leader panel with Renato Morgan from Ream, from Mike Powers from ARG Industrial, and Mike Alftenbrink from Summit Electric Supply. So fascinating discussion with companies that are using this technology. You might hear an echo in here. The next thing on August 23rd, which is a week from today, is what every CEO should know about artificial intelligence featuring Klaus Werner of e-commerce digital transformation. And that's going to be sponsored by White Cup. And then the one on Tuesday is going to be sponsored by Epicor. So be sure to sign in for those. And once again, thank you so much to our panelists and our audience, and wishing everybody a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.